Alright, what's up YouTube? So, a little while ago I did a video on the Bug when I first got it. One of the only things that it really needed when I first bought it was a new alternator. And that was just what the guy I bought it from told me, so I wasn't really sure if that was true or not. So I bought the cheapest one I could find. And you know, a couple people were like, oh, don't buy cheap alternators, they don't last. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm not going to drive this thing all the time. And literally, like, just a few months later, and it's already dead. It puts out 5 volts right now, so anytime I want to drive the car, I got to jump it. So I bought a new alternator. I bought an MP1. It has good reviews, and it's chrome, so it looks really good, which I kind of like. I don't think I mentioned this yet in any videos. A few weeks ago, the Bug was in a small accident. I got rear-ended. I didn't want to do anything to it until I knew it was going to be getting fixed. And now that I know that the person who hit me, their insurance is covering it, I'm all good to go. So the first thing I got to do is remove part of this back bumper so I could just pull the deck lid up, because I can't even access into the engine bay right now with the way the bumper's bent in front of it. The thing I'm going to have to do is remove the back bumper bolts. Alright, so I have to take all of this off, and then probably the carburetor. I got the intake off, just got the fuel line off of this, and now I'm going to pull the carb off, which is just these 2 bolts down here. Alright, so I got the carb out. Alright, now I'm going to pop this thing off. No, huh? Alright, so now you got to take this giant socket, and that's going to fit on the back of the alternator. You're going to have to kind of reach around in there and get it on there. And I'm hoping I can do this without pulling the whole fan shroud and everything out, because it's kind of a pain. That's how I did it last time, but I'm hoping I don't have to do it this time. Now, your new alternator will come with 2 nuts. It'll come with one on the front and one on the back. So take those 2 nuts off the new alternator and screw them on here. You want to tighten them against each other. So you can see I've got my breaker bar sticking out on the back over there. Okay, so now I got both those nuts on there and they're tightened against each other, and I'm hoping, nope, wait, hold on. There we go. So now I should just be able to spin that by hand most of the way off. Alright, so I got my big nut. There's also a washer back there. You can reuse this nut if you want to. I like to reuse it because it's kind of big and cool. This got to go on first, and you get the other one back in. Okay, so then there's this plate that holds the alternator to the back of the fan shroud. That's usually 4 bolts. I believe mine only has 2 because I think the bottom 2 are out. So just have to remove these top 2 bolts, and then I should be able to slide the alternator forward. I also loosened this. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. Okay, so now with those bolts out and this thing fully unattached, take all your wires off. This should be able to come right out. You have to pull the fan off the back a little bit probably, but okay. And then on the back of this, there's those 2 bolts. So you have to take those off, and then that should be good to go. Or I should be able to, I'm gonna have to take this off too and put that all on the new one. But so you can see the fan just sits right in there. Looks like it's rubbing a little bit on the thing too, which isn't great. Here's the new one. Look at that, nice and shiny. So now I have to do pretty much all of this in reverse order. I ended up popping this piece right here off of this with a big screwdriver. So yeah, this isn't exactly a hard job, but it's not the easiest job either. It's kind of a pain in the neck. And a lot of people say not to buy cheap alternators, and those people are right. This thing's garbage. It's only lasted a couple months, and I don't drive this thing all the time, so I'm hoping this MP1 will do me well. But this was just some no-name brand, the cheapest one I could find. I got it on Amazon for 60 bucks, I think. This one's still not like a Bosch, the top of the line, but I didn't feel like spending $250 on an alternator. So, I mean, Hopefully that doesn't bite me, but I spent 130 on this. Should be good. And that one, just look how terrible that looks after just a couple months in the car. Not like I really care about how the alternator looks, but like this one's chrome. That's pretty cool. So now I just gotta start putting this all back together. Okay, so I just put this plate on the new one. The new one came with a new one of these little keys too, which is good. And this goes back on here, so you have to make sure to line that key up. And then it just kind of sits on there like that. Before I put this back on, I'm going to test it and make sure it threads on there. It does. Good. So now it's all just reverse order. I got to drop it back in there. The first thing I got to do is get that fan back on. Okay, so I've gotten the alternator back into position. I've just got to drop these two bolts back in. Okay, so I got those back in. Now I'm going to reach back around in here and try to put that bolt on, that big bolt that goes in the back of the alternator. But I have to put this washer on too. I have to put this on first. Where is that big bolt? There it is. So I want to reach back in here. I'm hoping the fan is on the alternator mostly. Okay, so that's not really good. That means it's scraping against there. I'm going to need to put some spacers in, so I'm going to need to take that back out. You use these spacers right here. Alright, so I put a couple of those spacers on. I only have two. If I had more, I'd probably put more on there. As you can see, there's fresh metal here where it's been rubbing. But I guess that's going to have to do. I got the whole alternator back in. I got the fan back on the same way I took it out. And then I just put this clip back on. Now I got to reattach these wires. The red one goes to here. This is the ground, that goes to here. And then this one just clips right on like that. And that's pretty much it for the alternator. Obviously I got to put the pulley on the front. First I'm going to put the carb back on though. Okay, so I attached the wires. In this one we've got a red one that goes to here, then a green one that goes to here. Then I attached this wire back to the carb. And this ground wire, I'm not sure what color it used to be. It's brown after here, but there's a crimp. Then I reattached this to the carburetor. I dropped the carburetor back in, but I haven't put the bolts back on it yet. So there's just those two 10 mil bolts to go on it. And then that's pretty much it. Then I'm going to drop my my intake back on, if I can get to it. Yeah, so that'll be cool. Once this is all back together, and hopefully it'll run good. And then hopefully next week I'll have a new bumper on this thing. That should be good though, because I'm ready to be driving this thing again. That kind of sucks. Yeah, so I'm gonna put each of these. Actually, before I put the bolts on, I think I'm gonna put the bolts on first. So I got the fuel line on, got the carburetor bolted on, got the throttle cable attached. Somebody was telling me that this is a really bad idea to have next to your distributor. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but if I could get a couple more comments about that, that would be great. Just gonna know if I should relocate this or do something different with it. Okay, so I got the distributor hooked back up and the cables from the distributor to each place. If you ever mess those up, just look up a diagram on Google Images. A bunch come up. I just did that right now just to check and make sure I had them right. And now all I have to do is just put this pulley back on. So I gotta pull this little sleeve off here. That's where the key is. Okay, good. I want to just slide this right over that. Wow, that went right on. That was awesome. Oh, actually, I gotta do that with the belt on it though. So once you get that back on, you can choose to use one of the bolts that a new one comes with, but my pulley's got this thing and I think this looks a lot better, so. Oh, that's cool. It's even got a little VW on it. I never even saw that. And, so you want to get that pretty tight so it makes the belt good. So I'm hoping that's enough. Nope, not at all. So I'm gonna keep going in with that then. Oh, we're making the whole car move. Pull it out of gear. Okay, so all that's done. Now, really all that's left is just to put this intake thing back on, and this is going to be different for everybody else's, because I don't think anyone else has one quite like this, but because I made this one, and this like has difficulty going over the carburetor, but it'll go eventually. There we go. Guess it's getting easier as it's been on there for so long. So I mean, if you wanted an intake like this, it was really easy to make. There's a video about it. I kind of used this coupler from something else, but if you just bought one that was the right size, probably actually come out better than that. But yeah, this was really simple. It took me probably not even a half hour to come up with and make, and works great. So, all right, so that's all back together, and I'm gonna have to jump this thing, but it's kind of late, so and I'm not gonna drive it right now, so probably jump it tomorrow with the Jetta, then try to drive it from there, because I know the battery's pretty much dead, and hopefully this alternator will last a lot longer than that one because that was a piece. But I think it was a lot easier to take the big bolts off the back instead of trying to remove the fan shroud, or I've seen some people take this whole thing off, but there's two of the bolts in the back, or at least one of the bolts in the back is pretty hard to get to. And it's also easier to do if you remove the trunk lid, but that's kind of a pain in the neck in itself. So if you can get around back with that big socket, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, I used a little extension like this, and also this is a 36 mil. But if you have one of the smaller bolts on the back, it's a 3/4. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll have a new bumper on soon, I hope. And yeah, so that's been the big delay here with the bumper. I haven't been doing anything to this because I wanted to make sure it was actually going to get fixed, and now I know that it is. So I'm going to be doing dual carbs very soon, I think. And since my adjustable struts are lowered all the way to the bottom of the front, I'm probably going to throw some lowering springs in the front as well. So that's it. That's going to be it for this video. And leave a comment in the description if you have something to comment about. And go ahead and like, subscribe. Thank you for watching.